despite what their moms told them. They just aren't talented enough for radio. Unfortunately, anyone can have a show these days. Sean.
Well, I'm pretty hard to figure out sometimes. In fact, I can't even figure myself out sometimes, so don't you try to.
Joe.
You're an idiot. And really a disloyal person.
This is the Cuse Militia. Now, those two unapologetically biased orange-blooded homers, Sean and Joe.
It's the most bullshit thing I've seen in 30 years.
Welcome, Orange men and ladies. Happy Monday. It is the Cuse Militia with Sean and Joe for the Believe Entertainment Network. At Cuse Militia on the socials. Go there, join the militia. We're back with, I don't know, talk about Syracuse's losing streak. Well, we can go back to Clemson super quick in a game that ended up covering the spread, I believe, but was not as close as the score, in my opinion. Although they did fight. Starling, 25 points in that game. Pretty good job by him. That was kind of a one-man show for the most part. Still got handled pretty good, and then they actually come out against a Pittsburgh team was on a 4-game losing streak and lost by 4. So, right when you've got a team where you think you can win a game, and an 8-0 run, I think, an 8-0 run or a 6-0 run or an 8-0 run towards the end of that game when Syracuse looked like they could put it away. They failed to do so. And unfortunately, I think need a little bit more production out of Starling, especially with Donnie Freeman on the bench. Eddie Lampkin with 23 rebounds. I mean, that speaks for itself. Just the effort there, I thought, was tremendous. And, for the Eddie Lampkin haters out there, I don't remember the last time someone grabbed 23 rebounds in the Syracuse game. The glaring issues still turnovers for Syracuse, and they suck from the free throw line. So, yeah, I mean, it's kind of more the same, but it's a little bit more disheartening when you're up by 1 going into the half and you come out and you look like you're about to put this game away at home, and you can't do it against a decent Pitt team. And I think Pitt was looking better earlier in the year than they have been recently, and especially since they just kind of barely squeaked one out against Syracuse. But, Syracuse makes no moves in the net. I think they dropped 1 in the loss to Pitt, which is whatever if you're paying attention at home. 0-7 in quad 1 games, 0-3 in quad 2 games, 4-1 in quad 3, and 5-0 in quad 4, which, they should be. They should be, absolutely. I think they're 12th in the ACC right now, just a game behind Notre Dame, which would have been good to have. I think we already covered that whole thing. And now they're going to go on the road. I assume they left today. They play Wednesday and Saturday against, and we already kind of touched on this a little bit, but they play Wednesday and Saturday against the two California teams, Cal and Stanford. Yeah. So, and by the way, both pretty good teams as far as the ACC goes. Not bad. So that should be interesting. I thought that, when we came here last time and we talked about Syracuse and the way they were playing, and we can do all the ifs and buts if you want, and talk about, well, if they hit a couple more free throws and the defense was a little bit better, again, an issue, and we had Donnie Freeman, they could have another 3 wins, right? But that's unfortunately not how it works in college basketball. You got to deal with what you got when you got it. And this is what we've got. So they're just still not able to kind of put it together. Still just not consistent. And that was the main point I was kind of driving home the last time we came on, Joe, was the fact that, they put together a good game, and then, they kind of, they don't keep the consistency. And my cat is locked back here with me. So she's going to definitely have to go in the other room, and I didn't realize she was back here, and all the doors are shut, so she's got nowhere to go. The win against Notre Dame, if we could have made that a clean sweep, as I mentioned, we'd be up another spot in the ACC. But, to win that game and then lose these two just shows the consistency issues. And I didn't think we were going to get Clemson. In fact, I think I remember saying, I don't know if I said it on the air, if I just said it to you, Joe, if we go out and lose against Clemson and win and beat Pittsburgh at home, I consider that that's a good sign, right? Because I don't expect to hang with teams like Clemson right now. I think the gap in talent between Syracuse and the top of the ACC is just the gap there is just far too big for teams like Syracuse, Virginia Tech, Boston College, Miami, and Georgia Tech, who are all sinking in the net to overcome. You can add Virginia into that mix. They stink too. And Miami double, triple stinks because talk about blowing games, bro. They blew a game. Okay? At least we didn't blow it like that in overtime.
Yeah.
So anyways, another team in Miami that's riding on one guy right now, and you can't play basketball like that. You can talk about Cooper Flagg, but Cooper Flagg's got supporting actors, right?
Yeah.
So we don't Eddie Lampkin. And, there's been guys, Joe, and you could name a couple that have definitely stepped up. Lucas Taylor, Mastorovich, he gets a season high 10 points in his young career. And, Chris Bell's been streaky, but just not consistent. But it's just not enough coming together for Syracuse to pull off a win against Pitt. And it was probably the first game where I was like a little bit more pissed off than this year than I've been at other points in time. Probably because it's Pitt.
Yeah.
But with that said, still you got it in your clutches, and they snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. It's just ultimately frustrating and just encapsulates what we've seen so far from Syracuse Orange this season.
Yeah. Yeah. I wish that you left something there for me to talk about, Sean.
Come on. You're the smart one. You figure it out.
Well, like you said, at this point, it's kind of the same thing, right?
Yeah.
But no, you're right. There's teams that I honestly like. I thought we played great on Saturday against Pitt, and again, we can sit here and expect them to, at some point, until they show us, like you said, consistently, then it would almost be, the definition of insanity to expect them to come out and change things that have hindered them from winning these close games all year.
Right. There's no reason for us to think any different.
Right. So, we saw that with, the Texases and the Texas Techs and Notre Dame's and Georgetown's from the beginning, but then also too, we've had the Marylands and the Tennessees and the Wake Forest, Florida States, Louisville, Clemson. Those are all kind of tournament teams, or right there, at least on the bubble. And it's, to your point, like, it's just, there's not enough consistency, and there's just too many mistakes with simple, I don't like to say simple, but, when it comes down to turnovers, especially turnovers that, you just throw the ball out of bounds and the defense didn't do anything, right?
Yeah.
I think there's a difference between playing against, high level defense and them creating a turnover or forcing a turnover versus an unforced turnover. And then obviously the free throws. It's called a free throw for a reason, right? Like, you're there and you're supposed to get those extra points, and you're not getting guarded, and you just got to make a little jumper. So, yeah, there's definitely a difference between when we play teams that look like they're, top of the ACC and tournament teams versus, these other tweener teams. So, I was glad to see, because I think that Pitt right now is still looked at as a tournament team, maybe on the bubble. Like you said, they haven't been playing as well as they did in the beginning of the season, but nonetheless, they still have a decent looking resume to have them in the conversation at the end of the year. So,
yeah, you're talking about North Carolina being a bubble team. That says something for a team that's 7th in the ACC right now.
Well, the thing with them is that they always play a tough non-conference. They're playing against a whole bunch of, good teams. So, but that 13-8, that can go foul pretty fast, right? They had to come back and I saw they were down 2 points at home against Boston College with 12 seconds to go, and they had to get a turnover and a bucket in those last 12 seconds just to go to overtime to win against Boston College. So, I work with a lot of North Carolina fans, and they're struggling in their own right this year.
Yeah, and I mean, I thought we were going to cheat this year with the non-conference. I thought that was the point, and I think Coach said as much last year, right? Like, why would you challenge yourself and put yourself in a hole? And the net is the gospel to these people now because they're so foolish. And we were foolish at one point to even believe that it would be a standard for anything. But, you put yourself in a hole if you're in North Carolina, and Syracuse put themselves in a hole too this year. I think playing with their non-conference schedule wasn't a walk in the park by any means. So you're at a disadvantage right off the bat. But here's the flip side of that is that if you are not putting together a non-conference schedule that is going to be challenging and you just want gimmies, if you don't destroy those teams, then it's 6 in one and half a dozen in the other. It's not going to make a difference. And for me personally this year, just from what I've seen, I don't think it would have made a difference for us this year. And, it's just frustrating to watch. I'm frustrated for Coach. I didn't even listen to the post-game presser. Did you?
I did, yeah.
Okay, well, what was that like?
A lot of the same.
Right,
like
yeah. It's like, you hope to hear something different. It's more of the same. I mean, I do feel bad for Coach. I do feel bad for just the team in general. But at the end of the day, they got to care more than I do. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, and that's, again, we spoke about that before. I mean, at this level, you shouldn't have to coach effort, and I think that's one thing that is like something that's been at least visible in the past couple of weeks is that it seems like there's a lot more effort, and the bench is getting into the game, and they're playing more as a team. Different players stepping up and doing different things, game in and game out. Again, there's not a lot crazy consistency, but as long as a certain amount of players step up, then it gives us a chance to win. So now it's just up to Autry, in game, trying to figure out the best, lineup. So you want to be farther along this far.
Yeah, that whole thing should have been figured out like 10 games ago.
No, I mean, It's tough. Like I said, I mean, it's also tough when you bring in so many new guys. And again, I know that there's teams like Louisville where they're figuring out, but, you lose your best guy, J.J. Starling, when it seems like you're just starting to figure it out. And then they got to figure it out without him. And then he comes back and Donnie Freeman goes down. And it's just, you're trying to figure it out again without him, right? So,
yeah, it's when you're trying to build a team and you've got people who are absent for one reason or another, whether it be mentally, whether it be attitude, or if they're injured. I mean, that is a daunting task to try to restart that. I mean, Donnie Freeman was coming up as he was getting close to Starling level caliber in as far as offensive production, and when things are just about to look good and you get Starling back, I think they played one game together and then that was it. So,
right, yeah.
To your point, you got to start all over.
Right, and when you look at it, it was getting to the point where it was like Lampkin was almost, an every night double-double. Donnie Freeman was almost an every night double-double, and then with Starling coming back in the way that he can score, that gives you something, a foundation to work off of. And then with all the other guards and surrounding pieces, whether it's Jair Davis or Chris Bell or Lucas Taylor or Kyle Cuff or insert name here, then you just need one or two of them to step up. And now you're in that game for that evening, right? And it seems like we just can't get the pieces together. I know, Jackson Holzer from Lockdown, he said something about it the other day. I know we've said it for a while here that, right now, really, if you're a Syracuse fan, yes, you want to win as many games as possible. But, right now our goal is just to make the ACC tournament and just possibly have a magical run like some NC State teams and other teams have had in the past. So,
one thing to put things into perspective with the absence of J.J. Starling for, I think, 6 or 7 games and Donnie Freeman for like 5 games right now, something like that. Your leading scorer on a consistent basis through however many games we're at, 13. Excuse me, 20. That was bad math. Your leading scorer to that point through 20 games on a consistent basis is Eddie Lampkin with 10.2 points a game.
Yep.
So, obviously he's leading rebounds. And he's playing his ass off. You know what? I'll say that. I mean, the dude's playing his ass off. He's closing his ears to the noise and he's playing his ass off. And that's all I can ask for. I mean, you know, it's just what we see is what we get. I don't think that it's a waste of energy and mental state to fret about it.
Yep.
You know, I think they're going to make the ACC tournament. I mean, once you get through the California run and then Duke, you got Boston College, Miami. Those are all but gimmies. I know we already struggled with Boston College, ended up winning the game, but you know, then don't get a whole lot better, but there's winnable games in here to stay above 15.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not as afraid of, North Carolina as I was last year. You look at them, they have some issues with some down low players, and obviously last year they beat us by 30 when we were down here, then we ended up winning. I'm not a huge fan of that Pitt game. But then after that, you know, I'm really not a big fan at SMU either. But after that, you're talking about NC State, Virginia Tech, Virginia. Although Virginia Tech's a tough place to play, I mean, you're still looking at, you know, 5 more games against kind of the bottom of the ACC teams.
Yeah, you got Boston College, Miami, just to throw it out there. Boston College, Miami, Pittsburgh, Virginia Tech, Virginia. It's really 6. Did I say 6?
No, I don't count Pittsburgh. I'm just saying that when you look at past this, and you look at teams that are underneath us in the standings, we still have 5 games against teams underneath us.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's just, we'll see. I mean, there's only, 12 games left? So. 11, yeah. It's coming to a close quick, folks.
Yeah, it is.
This is the quickest basketball season ever. You think a season like this would just drag ass, honestly. By the way, just go ahead.
I think it's because football kind of pushed us a little bit past the normal times of entertainment.
Yeah, it did last year, too. I felt like that season just dragged on, too, though.
Yeah.
Syracuse, just a couple other stats that you don't usually see on the normal box score on ESPN. Fast break points, 13-10 in favor of Pitt, which neither one of those teams lighten it up there. But, you know, you want to do better if you're a Syracuse fan. And then, what did I see? What was the other one I talked about before we came on, Joe? Oh, points in the paint, 38-30 in favor of Pitt. But 24 points off the bench for Syracuse. Like, to your point, you kind of hit on it real quick. The bench has really been coming along, and I'm happy about that. So
yeah, and then, you know, I think too, one of the things that I saw, especially with Pittsburgh, is that I feel like the offense should have kind of been fed more through Eddie Lampkin. I know he did a damage as far as reboundings, and he had over 10 points, but you know, he was making the right decisions, and there's too many times that we just had just one-on-one and just a bad shot. So that's another thing. I mean, yeah, JJ's going to have his time, and we're going to make, you know, our little, you know, do our rotations to get some guys shots. But Eddie Lampkin, he gets double teamed every time he gets the ball down low. Every time. And we need to run our offense through that. And we need to learn how to move and rotate when he gets the ball, because he has proven that he could pass to the open man.
Yes,
that's something
that kick out to Bell was beautiful, if you remember.
Yep. So like that's something that I kind of would like to look forward to is, you know, you want to sit here and say, well, if JJ's the guard or the point guard, then he has to distribute for other people. He can't do his thing, which is why we got to bring in Carlos, and then he can play the 2 guard. And dude, if you have a center that can play like that, and that you have a center who's going to get doubled every single time, then just play through him. You don't need a point guard. You got a point center. Just get him the ball, and then you move and you rotate off of that. You got to try to do something different. Now I'm just sick of seeing the same rotations. And yeah, they get a little bit better because they're playing more with each other and, you know, making shots and stuff like that. But they gotta do something different here. And I thought that Pittsburgh, I think that they missed an opportunity to kind of get that Corhin guy, the center for Pittsburgh that was eating us up, to get him in foul trouble and to basically feed the offense through Eddie Lampkin. I mean, that's just something that I saw that I would like to see a little bit different.
And as aggressive as Lampkin was, only 3 personal fouls. And the one thing I would say Eddie Lampkin really needs to do is he needs to shoot 500 free throws every day.
No, let's start with 100.
Okay, let's do 100 first. We'll build up to 500. But he's got to be able to get to the line more, and he's got to be able to make them. You know, I mean, the whole team really could use a little bit of practice on the free throws, but whatever.
Yeah.
That's been like the past 3 years. I'm old enough to remember when Syracuse was actually a really good free throw shooting team. I couldn't tell you what year it was. It wasn't that long ago. It wasn't terribly long ago, but I feel like it happened while we were doing this show, which is, I don't even know where we're at now with that.
No, good ones. I know the John Gill and Andrew White team was pretty good free throw shooting team.
Yeah, I think that was BC before Cuse Militia. Okay, well, let's do this. Let's go to get your thoughts on the game. I'm not going to do the big hubbub about it. And I failed to get the montage. Yesterday, I knew we had a show. We're supposed to do one. I planned on doing it today anyway. Joe got with me. I said, look, we'll do it tomorrow. Then today comes. I had 2 days off of work, Thursday and Friday. And basically what happens at work for me is when I take off, those days worth of work just pile up until I get back. So I just got so sidetracked today. I didn't get home till later than normal. And I'm about to start working from home to finish up, and Joe calls. I'm like, shit. So I had forgotten. So I didn't have anything put together. But we do have fan feedback. And I think there's some on Facebook too. I do believe I remembered to do that. Right, Joe?
Yeah.
Okay. How is it looking? You don't sound excited. I mean, it's better than it's been over on Twitter. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not great.
Accuse Waterboy 2, lifting while watching the game on my gym's TV continues to be the best strategy. Get all worked up and use the energy to my benefit, to benefit myself. I mean, you got to channel it somehow. I channeled it by drinking. At Roger Clark, 41, so winnable, yet they find a way. No plan, no adjustments, big mess. Our boy Nadal, random fact to fill space. Carmelo, 1-1, and McNamara, 3-5 versus Pitt. Quadir, on the other hand, 2-0, scored 22 points in this fixture last year. Mic drop. Remember Quadir? He was fun.
Yeah.
Right?
McNeese State's actually playing pretty well. So
Are they?
Yep.
Where are they in the net, though? That's all that matters. It's all that matters.
The net.
The Bible of college basketball, the net rankings. At Drew Cuse.
They're at 58.
Holy cow, are they? Jeez, crow. Haven't we made McNeese jokes on the show before? I know.
I mean, they were good last year. I know that.
We've made McNeese State jokes before. We have. I'm almost positive. Now look at us. Look stupid. At Drew Cuse, shoulda, woulda, coulda. Yeah, exactly. Shoulda, woulda, coulda. Now here's Joe, and I haven't read Joe Todor's comment yet, but I'm about to. He's usually pretty optimistic. Let's see if it stays that way. At Joe Catskill on Twitter, the Cuse had an opportunity to win it. Too much standing around and one-on-one offense in the second half. I still like this team and hope they get into the ACC tournament. Go Orange. I think Joe's starting to slip a little bit. Starting to let it get to him a tiny bit. At David Super puts the Oh, this is the Tyler Ennis gif. Everybody remembers that 30-footer, right? Well, almost. These games used to be fun to watch. Well, I thought the game was fun. Okay, I don't know if we should be anticipating any buzzer beater, Tyler Ennis type shots against one of our biggest rivals in the history of the school's tenure playing basketball. But just to win it would have been great. I thought the game was okay. I didn't think the officiating bothered me from what I remember.
People that had some issues, but
nothing stood out to me that wasn't any more egregious than any other game I'm going to watch. Let's put it that way.
Fair.
At Oil Cuse, rip the Band-Aid off. You know what I mean. The YMCA called. They were wondering when Lamp could play some more 40-year-old rec league ball. Bell's stat line with 0 assists and rebounds is pretty typical. Also, you know what's coming, Joe. You're nasty. AF.
Come on, bro.
You know what? I never picked up on the Bell stat line that he mentions here. He's got to do more than just shoot threes, man, and hope he makes them. No comment?
Yeah.
Like, you ain't out there playing defense. Well, what are you doing? Like, this team needs defense. It's part of the problem. If you're not out there doing it, I mean, I don't know. Grab a damn rebound. It's disappointing. At Yankee Pappy, pathetic. At Patricia, something. Oh. I forgot there was a game. Yeah, that's one. That's an original one right there. Hold on. Let's jump ahead a little bit. Here's one that's got some meat on it. At Mike S74855-165. Well, played better. Scrapped a little more. Played hard. Kids have not quit. That's something I noticed against Pittsburgh for sure. And you could even say against Clemson, really. They did play all the way through. And we saw signs of maybe some breakdown as far as mental into it. Like being mentally into the game and not quitting. We've seen lapses of that this year, I feel like. 31 3 attempts. Question mark. Lampkin played great. What is up with Westry and Freeman? Well, Freeman, we don't know. Westry, we don't know either. I mean, we kind of
Westry close. I don't know what's going on with that.
Yeah, I don't know either. That's a mystery to me. Maybe he just doesn't feel like in practice he's shown enough, and coach doesn't feel like he can put him in and have it make a difference. We're out of the postseason, so just tell us. 11-19 record. Go get Jay right. So if I remember right, I think I posted this question on Twitter a while back. That's it for Twitter. Syracuse's least amount of wins in a season in like the modern era, which would be consider my lifetime, I guess, was 17. Did I say that already? 17. Do you think we get to 17, Joe? We talked about this. Do we get to 17
wins?
Yeah.
No,
we don't. I don't see a path to 17. This will be the least amount of wins. I mean, just predicting here. This will be the least amount of teams by a Syracuse team in my lifetime. What did I say? Least amount of wins. Is that what I said?
Yes.
Okay. Least amount of wins by any Syracuse team in my lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
That means it's your lifetime too.
It's fair. Yep.
And no bueno.
No bueno.
Anyway, all right, Joe. Well, hit me hard with the intellect of Facebook.
Big Facebook. All right. Well,
since they've lifted our restriction, I'm sure all of the posts from a place called Cuse Militia are just able to be seen. Good now.
I'm not going to say the names. I'm just going to roll through.
Okay, fair enough.
Just so that we get there's two with some meat on the bones here. All the other ones are just, brand is damaged. The record speaks volumes to what state they're in as a team. This team definitely needed Judah Mintz kind of guard. Can't wait for lacrosse season to start. When does lacrosse season start? Play some effing defense. And the other one,
Oh, boy.
Looking good, making progress every game. Kudos to all the coaches with the thumbs up. I don't know if I want to just feel the sarcasm in that. So
I got to know who that is.
John Foley. So
Okay.
I feel like he's done some, but top fan Mahir, the time
boy.
that
I wasn't ready. Mahir's been on one
get ready
lately.
for another one.
I was going to say, go ahead.
So he says the time that Lampkin was out and Davis was in made no sense. Unless Lampkin needed rest, he should have been in there. JJ took way too many unnecessary shots. That was the difference. Losing is not surprising to me this season, but losing a very winnable game like this is very frustrating.
Well, you had a point in time where Starling got 2 quick fouls and sat on the bench for like 10 minutes, right?
Yeah.
Syracuse kept it together without him there. However, Pitt was playing like dog poop, and offensively, Syracuse just never capitalized on any of that. So I'm glad that they kept it close, but if you really think about it and look back at it, they played good enough if they were hitting shots during that time to not just play close, but to actually pad that lead out. And that would have been, who knows what would have happened, but I mean, that's not what happened. So we can sit here and talk about it, but defensively, they played okay, and Pitt really just wasn't hitting shots during that time, which is weird. It's like a gift, and they just never unwrapped it.
Yeah, both teams went on spurts where they didn't score for a little while. So, that's just kind of how that whole...
Well, yeah.
But,
I know. You can always look back on that, and that's just, as watching the game, is one of the things I was like, man, we got our star player out with 2 fouls, and...
Right.
You're keeping it close, but you're missing shots. You're not freaking capitalizing on even having it close, but whatever.
Yeah. And then last one, top fan Andy, our boy Andy Stewart. He's got an interesting take.
Oh, it's always interesting from Andy.
Take.
Okay.
He says...
Are you being sarcastic?
What? No.
You look serious. No. Does he really have an interesting take, or is this an Andy Stewart spin on an interesting take?
I mean,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
So he says, I've been saying it for a while now. The university has chosen football. We don't have the resources to compete at a high level for both. Realignment has changed how important the football program is to the success of the university and the athletic department. Accept it and get over it. Buy season tickets for football, and maybe one day when everything realigns in college sports, Syracuse basketball will return to its dominant ways. Until then, expect more of this from Cuse basketball.
I mean, it's not a bad take. It's really not.
Yeah. I mean, it could be fair.
For a private school to be able to, in the NIL era, to be able to feed both of these programs with the substantial amount of money it takes to be competitive, you do have to pick. I feel like you do have to put all your eggs in one basket, unfortunately, to some degree.
Well, the thing too, like he said, with realignment, if
you don't want to get left out.
They have two super conferences. You don't want to get left out, and football is going to be the one that pretty much pushes the money, right? So
yeah, because to that point, if they're left out of that, then this Syracuse in general we're done.
Yeah. Well, no, and you got to think about it too, because you have certain teams that made certain moves, right? I mean, look at what SMU just did in one year.
I know both programs.
I think they went from like the AAC to the ACC, or I don't know if they played one season in the Big 12. I don't know, but a couple years ago they were just in the AAC. And now you're talking about a situation where, they made the college football playoff in the first year in the ACC. They made the ACC championship the first year in the ACC, and their basketball team looks all right.
Yeah,
so 2 years ago, I feel like, I don't know, maybe I'm not trying to pick on SMU, but you know what I'm saying. And like, there's colleges that are coming from non-Power 5 that are now coming into Power 5 that are already in a couple of years almost looking like a better pick to choose over us. So at the end of the day, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, no, it does. This is a good take, and it's a take that, I haven't heard, and I haven't even thought about it. We talk about realignment and getting left behind, but to kind of break it down that makes sense. I would buy 100%, 10 times over.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the other thing I think we're going to be free of next year is these super seniors that just play unlimited amount of years. And I think this should be it. This year should be it. Your 5-year senior guys are phasing out. Do what?
2 years. I feel like we said the same thing last year and the year before.
I mean, you're probably right. It's like this just never ends, and just everything's kind of it's a sloppy pie. I mean, it's like, as they say, clear as mud. You know, I mean, the whole thing's just a mess. But okay, Joe, that does it for that. Look, we will keep our fingers crossed for the West Coast run this week, and
Stanford's going to be tough, dude.
They're both going to be tough.
I mean, they're both going to be tough, but Stanford's significantly, to me, better than California. California is more comparable to us. Stanford, they've got some big wins. They got a 7'1", 250-pound Maxime Reynaud that can shoot threes and go down low. He averages over 20 points and 10 or 11 rebounds a game or something like that. So Eddie Lamton's going to have his hands full, and Stanford, like I said, I mean, they beat North Carolina, and they just look like that one's going to be tough. So it's 11 o'clock at night on a Wednesday. So I'm not going to be staying up for that one.
No, I'm not even going to watch it after. I might watch the condensed version, maybe. Yeah. But that's about it as far as that goes.
So California's on Saturday is something that I'll probably stay up and watch, and it's more of a chance for a win. So.
We'll see. It is. I agree.
But one thing I do want to watch
is the Shrine Bowl, Joe. You going to talk about the Shrine Bowl?
Yeah, I mean, why not, dude?
Go ahead, talk about it.
Well, look, okay, so it's Thursday, and we have 5 players that are there on the rosters. So you're looking at Elijah Clark, Fadil Diggs on the defensive end, and we have Kyle McCord and Aronde Gatson and Jackson Meeks on the offensive end. And I kind of missed the football part a little bit. I was kind of wishing that McCord was going to come back, but he's not. So this is going to be your last chance to see him be able to throw to the Gadsons and the Meeks of the world.
With a Syracuse helmet. Last time you're going to see him play with a Syracuse helmet.
Yep, pretty much. And so, yeah, he's and from everything that I've seen a bunch of stuff on Twitter to where there's people talking about how he's been impressing all of the coaches and all those things just based upon the practice. He's been getting a lot of, personal interviews and workouts and stuff set up with NFL teams and things like that. So it seems like it's going to be good. I still think they are going to have their pro day at some point. I don't even know when they send out the invitations to the combine, but there's been good talk about him. There's been good talk about Jackson Meeks. There's a guy that said that he was, his sneaky kind of possibly can get drafted receiver that no one would think about. There's been some good stuff out of that. And I think that we're finally going to break the I know that we've got guys drafted and all that other kind of stuff, but I think that, with this team in this season and then with the prospects that we have going into this draft, I think that Syracuse fans are going to be able to actually finally
celebrate draft picks.
Watch the draft and expect multiple draft picks, right?
It was fun. The winning, the winning, the cheering, the, if you will, consistency. The charisma, the leadership, all that was fun during football. And we don't know what this team is going to look like next year. Dude, next year might suck. It's a possibility.
Oh, it may with that schedule, 100%. But, we're going to ride this wave, and there's still time for him to fix the stuff. And I'll tell you right now, we're not going to go into it, but looking at, the 2026 guys that he's getting to commit early, as far as verbal commit right now, doesn't look like it's slowing down. So I have all the faith in the world that he's going to figure it out. If Andy's right and we're throwing the whole kitchen sink as far as NIL at football, then I wouldn't be surprised. But But as far as this is off season, just try to enjoy it. I'm going to watch. I think that Kyle McCord is probably going to start that game, along with Aronde, stuff like that. So you'll be able to see some of that stuff. And then, like I said, there's been a long time where, we just have like punters or kickers that got drafted, right? And then there was like that little spurt where we got like,
Riley Dixon, didn't he just have like a fake punt pass?
No, yeah, it was a great play. Yeah. I feel like Garrett Williams won some kind of like
Melifonwu was lighting it up this year for the Lions. Actually, I saw a few games where he was
Cisco.
Yeah, Cisco for the Jags.
So there was a little while where we had a couple, defensive back and guys getting drafted and everything like that. But I think this year, like I said, I think that you're looking at probably getting in like 4 guys drafted. And I think it's been a little while since that's happened. And, just to kind of throw a little bit of stuff out there, just, I don't know who exactly will eventually, once you get past like the later rounds and stuff like that, but just to kind of throw some stuff.
Go on. Sorry. I almost just tore this whole system to the ground. Anyway.
No, just looking at Mel Kiper put out his rankings by position. I think it was earlier this month, and he currently has Kyle McCord is the number 5 quarterback. And a big thing, we talked about LaQuinn Allen going pro. He's got LaQuinn Allen as the 3rd running back coming off the board.
Well, I hope so.
Behind Ashton Jonty from Boise State, who almost won the Heisman, and then Amarian Hampton from North Carolina, who's a beast. So, he's got him ranked as the number 3 running back, and then fullbacks / H-backs, which just means, just those specialty type guys or whatever. He's got Aronde Gatson is number 2 on that. So there's going to be guys that come off the board in the first couple days. Maybe not day 1, but I would expect day 2, rounds 2 and 3 to at least get 2 or 3, in my opinion, as far as it stands right now.
Okay. Good talk. It's good. By the way, according to Mike Waters on Twitter, Eddie Lampkin, his 23 rebounds versus Pitt was one effort over, there's only 2 efforts better than that. Let's put it that way. Frank Redout, 34 rebounds versus Temple in 1956.
Oh, good God.
And by my math, that's 68 years ago. And then
it's good.
And then Dave Bing, 25 versus Cornell in 66, which is 58 years ago. So, yeah. I'm glad I kind of stumbled on that, because as I was talking, and we were talking just during the show about that, I was wondering, man, 23 rebounds. I don't ever remember a number like that. So, yeah, you got to go back at least 58 years to come close.
Yeah. I remember during the broadcast, they brought up something about Jesse Edwards getting 20 a little while back. But, yeah.
56, that was a decent year, right? Temple. That was an old rivalry back then. And Cornell, obviously. Around 100 years of that whole mess.
Big Red.
So, anyway. Okay. I think that's going to do it. Look, we'll be back here when we get back here. I got no set times. So, we'll see what happens on the West Coast slate and go from there. So, I appreciate all of you for tuning in still. We appreciate you so much. For Joe, I'm Sean. We're out.
Peace.